A dramatic new phase of Robert Mueller's wide-ranging investigation. Two former members of the Trump campaign have pleaded not guilty to charges against them today. A third person pleading guilty to lying to the FBI. He was a national security advisor to the campaign. The panel tonight. Steve Rogers is here. He's a member of President Trump's re-election campaign advisory board. Democratic strategist Hank Sheinkopf is here. Reed Wilson is the national correspondent for The Hill, and Paul Callan is a CNN legal analyst, all here with me. This is enough news for a week, but let's just have it be for Monday. How about that? Reed, all of it. The trifecta of what we found, the trifecta of the guilty plea, the two not guilty pleas today. What is the most important thing that you think was learned today?
I think the most important thing that we know now is that there is a former Trump campaign advisor who is cooperating with authorities. As big a name as Paul Manafort is, I think that George Papadopoulos' guilty plea is almost more important because it's clear that he has a connection to the Trump campaign. He had a connection to senior staffers, and according to the indictment, was talking them through a lot of the information that he'd been receiving from Russia. And this is the beginning. This is how the FBI and investigators like Robert Mueller build a case that envelops not just George Papadopoulos, not just Paul Manafort, but a lot more people. There's a lot more coming here.
Paul Papadopoulos, is this collusion?
Well, first of all, the collusion term, of course, we throw around kind of loosely. We really are looking to prove criminal conspiracy of some sort. Right, it's not illegal.
The collusion itself is not.
Yes, but you can collude, and that can be part of a conspiracy, and that's really what they're saying here. Papadopoulos, if believed, is working for the Trump campaign. He's one of the top 5 foreign policy advisors to presidential candidate Trump. And the FBI has him linked to people in the Soviet Union. Now, one of the things, or Russia, one of the allegations
Stay here now. I don't need to go back that far.
All right, well,
keep going.
Well, Putin's trying to put it back together, so it's possible.
Keep going, Paul.
But in any event, the claimed connection is with someone who he thought, Papadopoulos thought, to be Putin's niece. And there's also a connection, supposedly, with a well-connected Russian professor. So that creates this alleged link between the Trump campaign and the Russians, which is the first half of a collusion conspiracy case to tamper with the American election. Now, they don't talk about tampering in this particular document, in the indictment, so we'll have to see where this goes.
And Steve, we've talked already today. You say there is absolutely nothing there in what we see so far. But on the most basic level, you have a Trump campaign advisor trying to work with the Russian government to get dirt on Hillary Clinton and get Donald Trump elected.
He tried to arrange a meeting that never took place. There's a lot of speculation, Kate, a lot of ideas being tossed around. Not one shred of evidence that links the Trump campaign to Russia. Not one shred of evidence.
I don't think you could say no one shred of evidence that links the Trump campaign to Russia. I think you could say, are you trying to say Donald Trump to these meetings? Because there are definite contacts that are linking these guys to Russia now. We have now moved off of were there any contacts with Russia? We are far past that at this point.
There are individuals, in this case, obviously Manafort, that never came up in the indictment. Papadopoulos,
yeah.
We don't know if he was rogue. We don't know if he had any conversations with the Trump campaign to do what he did. So as I said before, I'll say again, let this bear out. I think that one of the greatest things that happened today was that we know now that Robert Mueller still does not have the evidence linking the Trump campaign or the president.
We don't know that. You don't know that. You don't know what he has and hasn't put out yet. You don't know. We don't know what he has.
Well.
No one even knew this was coming. He's pretty good at keeping it pretty close to the vest.
I mean, read the top of his, it was either on the indictment or the other document where he said, this is an investigation, and I'm going to paraphrase, an investigation that will attempt to lead to collusion. Those are his words,
No, he talks about coordination. It's their investigation into coordination. Then this could just be one step of many steps. No one's denying that. I don't think you can apply any fact or conclusion to what is in Bob Mueller's investigation, what Bob Mueller has in his deck of cards quite yet. Hank, try this one on for size. Sure. Manafort, he was only with the campaign for a little while, very limited ties to the campaign.
Correct.
Now, Papadopoulos, he was a volunteer on a committee that met once.
Correct.
He's a nobody.
Correct. He is. That's not the issue here. I think the question is a very simple one. What does it mean to the president? My business is politics. I'm not as wise as everybody at the table, but I do know one thing. Prosecutors tend to come up with original information that squeezes other people. These kinds of bails and these kinds of charges are meant to squeeze as many people as possible. The problem here is that this will ultimately, if it continues in the direction it goes, seemingly from the information we know, it will squeeze the entire political consulting business and everyone who works overseas. Did they file under FARA or not? How many people are involved and how far does this go back? If you're thinking about the Ukraine, there were consultants there going back to 2003. Republicans, Democrats, independents, moneymakers. This may, in fact, not be about Russia at all. It may be about the people in our business who don't do what they're supposed to do, and that is a very real issue.
Let's speak about political problems. Is this a political problem today for Donald Trump?
Of course it is.
I don't believe that.
Largely,
you don't think so?
Well, it's a political problem because this is very clearly the first step in an investigation that's going to go on for a very long time. These kinds of charges are not charges that go away at any point in the next
When that
year,
polling number gets below 30, you'll know it's a problem. In the meantime, it's in the same range.
Gallup says
it's in the same range it's been.
Lowest
and
rate, look, 33%.
I'm a Democrat. Look, he's in the same range. He's been in the same range.
Not happening.
He's in a real bad.
We don't know that.
It's not his core voters, his base is as loyal to him today as they were last week and the year before.
The core itself is getting smaller.
No, it's in the same range. It's 33 to 38. Those are rounding errors. That's not the question here. The question is, how do you get the president? Are you anywhere close to getting the president? The answer is no. Could you have a third-party candidacy out of this? The answer is yes, because that 33% doesn't move.
Here's one thing. I actually do want to remember where all of this started, and this takes us a while back, but stay with me here. When this first all started, this started with, did anyone within the campaign have contact with Russians? That was how this question started. Mike Pence, absolutely not. Kellyanne Conway, absolutely not. Well, that's clearly, obviously, gone away. Then it became a question of, was there collusion with any member of the campaign? And then Kellyanne Conway tried to make it this over the summer. Listen to this.
The goalposts have been moved. I mean, we were promised systemic, hard evidence of systemic, sustained, furtive collusion that not only interfered with our election process, but indeed dictated the electoral outcome.
Right. Okay, so that moved the goalpost quite a bit. Where is the goalpost now, then?
Well,
when does it actually become a problem?
Well, I don't think it's a problem, but Paul, I'll tell you what, I got to thank you for clearing something up.
No. Answer my question. Where is the goalpost now?
I'll thank you later.
You can thank him later.
The goalposts are at this point. Robert Mueller has to find evidence, if that's what he's looking for, that there was collusion, and commending you for straightening out collusion versus conspiracy, he's going to have to find conspiracy, that there was an actual crime committed. It's not there, Kate. It's never been there. And they're not going to find that.
We don't know if it is there or it isn't. The question is, what is the state of political play at the moment? The Trump number remains within the same span that it's remained for the last 3 months, number one. Number two, does it hit the president directly? The faster they get into the White House, the faster it will. But right now, it doesn't look like they're there. So this will go on for a long period of time. And the pain to the American political system will either show itself off in next year's elections or it won't.
Paul, one final question, because this just came in. Bail was set. Manafort getting $10 million bail. Gates, $5 million. I mean, they might be really wealthy and be able to do that, but that's a lot of money to me.
Yeah, it's really high bail. Actually, it reminds me of, if you think back to Judge Sirica. Well, you probably hadn't even been born yet, but this was in the
Let's just say
in the Watergate scandal. Sirica was the judge who was hearing the Watergate burglars case, and to put the screws on Nixon, he set really high bail on the burglars so that they would give up the higher-ups. This starts to look a lot like that. They're squeezing Manafort and they're squeezing Gates, hoping that they'll give something that will incriminate Trump.
And they're under house arrest, which makes it even more complicated.
Yeah.
The press can't get to them. No one can get to them. So how they get out of this is by rolling. The question is, what have they got to roll with? And that's
you
really
have
what
to have information to sell in order to roll. And the question is, are they holding back information that would incriminate the president, or do they have nothing that they can use?
It all has to do with the campaign is close enough, guys. I'm just saying, that is where the goalpost was set from the beginning. Did the Trump campaign have any collusion with Russia in order to influence the election? Let's stand by and discuss it further, because I'm not done, because I'm going to yell at somebody. Don't forget, Bob Mueller isn't the only one investigating Russia's meddling in the 2016